Hi everybody, this is Dee Dee Vergatos from InTheKnowRadio.com, and today it is my very special privilege to interview Donald Hood. Hi Donald, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Donald Hood is an ordained minister, a published author, and a certified hypnotherapist, having worked in the field of hypnosis for over 30 years. He's on a mission to bring inner peace and empowerment through hypnosis. Donald specializes in past life regression and detachment therapy, where he brings these two modalities together to help his clients come to a center of peace based on their sense of spirituality. Donald is also president of the Illinois chapter of the Association of Advanced Ethical Hypnosis and past president and trainer for the Institute of Lightworkers Alliance. He has also been featured on television as well as numerous radio talk shows. And he teaches and speaks to various groups nationally and is currently working in his private practice, a Center for Inner Peace, located in Warrenville, Illinois. So, Donald, you have 30 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
How did you first discover the world of hypnosis?
Well, I kept for years, I kept being in like counseling situations with people. And then
As a minister?
Not as a minister, just
as a person.
People
Right.
naturally came to me for help. And so I thought, well, I need to get certified in something. And I felt that hypnotherapy was the most succinct, direct way of helping people, because it bypasses the critical thinking, the blocks that we put up a lot, and it goes right to the source of the problem. As a hypnotherapist yourself, you know that we go back to the initializing event in so many things, and it's like right to the source, figure it out, bring it to peace, bring it up the roots of it all. Yeah. And so I was looking around for researching and stuff, and I was visiting my brother on the West Coast. He hooked me up with a guy that helped him become a non-smoker, and that poor fella, Fred Lydecker. I've lost track of him now. Not related to Art, who's a guy that's in the Chicago area. But I talked to him for 3 hours about everything I could think of related to hypnosis, the business and the practice, everything. And I felt in the research that I was doing and the connection that I was drawn to was past life regression was like going to be my focus in that. At the end, and this is what's kind of interesting, at the end of all that we were talking about, he was talking about spirit releasement stuff. And he said that they brought this lady in, 4 guys carried this woman in, laid her on the floor, and then he did the work, and these spirits went into the air, or into the light, and it's like, ooh, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is really wacky stuff. I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Because it's a little
Can
weird.
seem so.
Yeah. And so I thought, fine, thank you very much, and I bought a book and left. Well, then he gave me the name of a good teacher in the Chicago area, Sid Schneider. Took the training with him, the initial training, and then took various workshops to do the past life regression stuff. Interestingly enough, how the universe works, we get nudged along. We have free will, but we get nudged along sometimes that, like, really, maybe you should be doing this. So this other teacher, Dr. Irene Hickman from Missouri, who was probably the second person there's William Baldwin and his wife down in Florida. I don't know whether his wife has passed, but William Baldwin has passed. And then Irene Hickman. They were kind of the forerunners of the people doing therapy on this stuff. Edith Fiore's another one that she's got a good book, The Unquiet Dead. It's a good beginning book. But anyway, Irene Hickman, I noticed her and I thought, well, she's doing a little introductory workshop. I'll check it out. I was blown away at the therapeutic qualities that this stuff really does to help.
Are you talking hypnosis or the releasement?
The releasement stuff.
Okay.
I took all the training and everything for the hypnosis, and that's amazing stuff too. But this whole thing about the releasement therapy kind of kept coming up, and then I took more workshops and stuff, and I got trained and certified. I ended up being, like in your introduction said, the president of an international organization that dealt with that in particular. So from going like to where this is really wacky and I don't want to do anything,
right,
and then now
you were sold,
I became president.
What specifically is detachment therapy?
Detachment therapy is basically, now I call it detachment therapy. It's been called, the Baldwins called it spirit releasement therapy. He trademarked that. Then he trademarked spirit releasement. To me, those are fear-based things when you start.
Yeah, they do sound kind of scary.
You know, trademarking and hanging on. When you're grasping at stuff, it's like, it's all about the love, you know. And that's really the thing. When I teach this stuff, it's vital that people understand that it's all about the love. You come from a love base and you can do this work. Now, the work itself, basically it's about people that when they die, they don't get over to the light for one reason or another. And there's a whole host of reasons that don't take too long to explain all of them, but sometimes they don't know they're dead. Sometimes they don't think, and this is the sad thing, they don't think they're worthy enough to go to the light. They're taught.
Maybe they feel like they've sinned or something.
Oh, heaven forbid that they've sinned.
Yeah.
Well,
who hasn't?
And so many. Well, have we missed the mark? Yes, we've missed the mark. Are we manifesting love wholly and completely like we're supposed to be doing? No, not yet. That's why we keep coming back. But, and but stands for behold the underlying truth. There's a, you know, we are taught, we're programmed in religion that we're unworthy to come to the Father, okay, which is so far from the truth.
Right.
You know, we all get to go home, and that's the beauty of this work, is we all get to go home, no matter how bad you might have been or how bad you think you are or how bad you're going to be. We always get to go home. So some of these guys are floating around. Some of the time, instead of just floating around, they'll attach to somebody. Sometimes they'll bring their afflictions along. So let's say there's somebody who has all kinds of heart issues, but there's nothing medically that you can discover. It's possible that somebody who died of a heart attack entered that person for some reason or another and has resided in his heart and is causing that pain because it's
Could it be emotional stuff as well? Like
Well-
emotional hurts, or, you know, I think the world is a bad place, sort of philosophies, or...
that the host feels that way? Or,
No,
or
the spirit that
the
attaches.
Spirit. Yeah, the attachment, the entity. There's lost souls and there's dark ones. Those
Okay.
are kind of the two flavors we got. But lost souls, there's all kinds of emotions. There's my wife picked one up at a bar one time. We were visiting a friend and we stopped by this bar, and she was cute. And so she said, "Don, I've got somebody in my leg." So we did the work, and there was this guy who happened to, he lost his leg earlier before he died. That's why she went into the leg. But he came into her because she was pretty, and because it was a bar, she thought, well, I'd get that sensation of drinking. I said, well, she doesn't drink. He said, I know. That's like, darn it. But then he got stuck there. So we helped him into the light, and it was all fine.
Because they don't know that they can go to the light. That's the
Right.
thing.
They don't know. They're afraid. Here's another example.
You give them permission, don't you?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm kind of like a salesman.
Yeah.
I
gotta kinda-
show them how it's a better idea to
The
go home,
benefits.
you know? Yeah. Well, one of the things, when they don't feel like they're worthy enough, I ask them, if you had a kid that went down the block and broke a window, what would you want them to do? Run away or come home? They always say, well, I'd want him to come home. He says, why would you want to? He broke a window. Well, because I love him. Aha.
That's what God heals, yeah.
And I said, take the amount of love that you would have for your kid, multiply that by anything, and it still doesn't come close to the amount of love that the Father has for you. And then they begin to get it. And that's the thing that's so cool about it.
So what have you seen in your work with detachment therapy that really transforms someone's life? Because I imagine, I've known people with the experience of having the alcoholic spirits attach, and it can give people cravings and things that aren't their own, but if they don't recognize that, I believe they could become alcoholics or drug addicts.
Oh, sure. Well, they'll come across as that and be like, all of a sudden they're fine, and then bam, they're an alcoholic. And it's like, why am I
something
craving this?
So have you ever come across somebody that had this spirit that was causing them to do things that was out of character, and then once they release it, it totally changed their life?
One of the things that was very profound in a fella, he was 60 some years old. He kind of a short fella, and he had this pain in his shoulder for 50 years in his right arm. Mm-hmm. He could not raise his arm above his shoulder height without extreme pain. He tried all kinds of medical things and just a whole host of things, thousands of dollars over the years. In one session, we discovered that there was an entity in. Now this is what's really interesting is the uniqueness of this. Mm. In the first of all, we found this street kid who had died and had come in, and he said, "Why are you here?" He says, "Well, he invited me." Why would he invite you? Well, he didn't want to throw the ball. Didn't want to be in sports. So he had an excuse. So his subconscious invited this fella in.
Right.
Okay, it was an opening. If our auric field is open in some ways, that gives us an opening. We get banged in the head, that's an opening. An injury of some kind.
Can it happen when you're really ill as well? Because they say when you're really ill, you're weakened and things attach.
So he curled up. He was on a bed. We were at a conference, and we were he was on a bed, and he curled up in the fetal position, was crying, and felt so bad for all that he's done and everything. He said, "It's okay."
And he's talking through this man's body, the street kid.
We always say this entity can speak through, like Bob or whoever, without harming him in any way.
So voices literally come out of people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's when my wife and I, see, we can do this one-on-one. That was a one-on-one thing. We can also do it remotely, where we go through somebody, like I could go through you go off, a part of you would go find this other soul, and then you do the scan and all that stuff. There's
many ways to do it,
ways to do it. And then I'd say, and they can speak through Dee Dee without harming her in any way. And then it's not quite channeling where you would step out and this person would step through. It's just using the voice box and stuff.
Right. So he's aware the whole time that a voice is coming through him, and he's probably going, "Wow."
Yeah. It's pretty fascinating.
It's pretty freaky for the person,
It can be, but they know that they're in a love space. It's real important to do that. This fella, after we got everybody cleared and into the light, he got up off the bed and was waving his arm around all over. He says, "I haven't been able to do this for 50 years. I was going to tell you another interesting case about getting rid of all the other people's stuff first.
Okay.
We had a client, my wife and I, but she was diagnosed with 26 multiple personalities.
Wow.
And she was heavily into drugs and all this stuff. I mean, she was really messed up.
A mess, yeah.
So we went in and we got it down to 6. There were 20 that didn't belong there at all, but 6 were splinters of her real personality.
Okay.
So we cleared those 20 over, and then we investigated, and these 6 really were her. Mm-hmm. So after we did the work, the psychotherapy that she was going through seemed to take a great leap forward, and there's less drugs, to keep things balanced and everything, and she's fine. Now she's fine, and she's got a job, and she's just great. But when you've got all that going on, there's no way you can get straightened down. So get that stuff out. Clean out the closet from other people's stuff first, and then you can deal with the issues. They could be past life regression issues or any number of things. It could be real chemistry, and really need to have a particular drug to help balance things out. I mean, that's I go along with that too. But quite often, this detachment therapy stuff is the last thing that we find out about.
Well, it's not your normal, hey, I got to go down to the
it's a little weird
detachment guy to get the spirits off me. It's not exactly,
it's not mainstream.
Mainstream for sure. Tell us more about the detachment. Like, what have you seen that's, well, it's all unusual. So have you ever seen anything come out of your clients, like paranormal, like the Exorcist? They have,
in the 30
People
years,
rising and levitating.
funny you should ask that. I had this one client who was he had a Lucifer wannabe inside, and he was making the guy hinge his stomach, contract his stomach so violently that he was bouncing on. I had a couch in my office at that time. He was bouncing on the couch. It was like this,
And all through the stomach.
and it was because he was kind of hinging on the,
wow.
So his stomach muscles were contracting like that. And I just casually said to him, I said, this whole bouncing on the couch thing isn't impressing me any, so you might as well just cut it out. Stopped it. Just stop that.
You really take control, don't you?
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing, and this is what I teach in my classes. You have got to know that you're coming from a love base.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to know that love. It's not faith, it's not belief, it's the next step over. It's knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know that you've got that love, you've got all this
You're
backed
safe,
up.
yeah.
There's nothing I'm doing by myself. And it's all, when you've got all the love and light there is,
Mm-hmm.
which I got from a very high power, the source of all there is. When you've got all the love and light there is, that's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
And you can march into hell with the heavenly cause. But, again, behold the underlying truth. When you know that you're coming from a love base and everything you do comes from that love base, you can talk to anybody, the strongest Lucifer wannabe. I always go upline from, let's say, there's somebody in Bob, we'll just say Bob's over there, and we go in and we find that there's these different entities, and then a really dark one. And I say, well, who's your boss? And then they'll come along and they'll say, I don't have a boss. I say, well, come on. All you guys have bosses. I know that. You can say, well, he doesn't want me to tell you anything about him. I says, well, when he does talk to you, what does he sound like? And then you can tell that he's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And so, bam, I got that connection, and I can drop a net of light around him. I drop nets of light. Michael dropped nets of light on this. So we contain everything as we go along. And then I talk to that one, and then that one's upset because this one is, he
In a net of
snitched
light.
him out. And then I went upline. I go upline as far as I can go. And then what that does, when I clear that one that's up here somewhere, it also clears all the rest of them.
Oh, I see. So you take
So-
the top guy out.
You take the
Yeah.
top guy. I say it's kind of like Amway. It's this pyramid thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like any management and underlings and stuff. In fact, I had this was kind of funny. It was a chiropractor came to see me, and he's got these in his leg these underlings. They're not, they're just there to cause trouble. And again, I asked him, well, who's your boss? He says, well, I can't tell you who my boss is, And then I did that thing about, well, what would he sound like if he did talk to you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and this is one that I used to record all these things. This is one I didn't get recorded because this would have been great because the boss and this guy that was inside had this argument. So they're arguing.
They're arguing through the guy.
Two different voices coming out of this fella.
Oh, that's hysterical.
And-
in a deranged kind of way.
Well, it's a little weird, but it was fun. It was just okay. Well, I'll sit here and let that go a little bit, and then they calmed down. But it was like, I told you I was going to talk to you. You weren't supposed to, contact me. And say, well, I know he was doing it. It was like back and forth. It was,
Oh, no.
it was
that's
hilarious.
so bizarre.
And then after we got that all cleared away, the chiropractor had brought him out, and he said, "What the heck was that?" It was pretty funny. I have some clients that are all arms and legs. This one woman, when she had the dark one speaking through her, she was like the Wicked Witch kind of voice and like all arms and legs all over. Mostly, there's not a lot of action on that.
So this entity says, I can crush you like a grape.
I can crush you like a grape, just like, this. And, and I say, oh, okay, go ahead. And then you can see the client kind of like do that. And I said, so how's that working out for you?
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing.
Not good. Well, but it's
comical.
It is. And that's the thing that keeps it light.
Kind of like the school bully.
Yeah. And that's what they are. They're all smoke and mirrors and bullies and stuff. And they try to come at you really strong. And there is a lot of power there because they've been given a lot of power. And that's the thing. But if you know that you're coming from all the love and light there is, there's nothing that can harm you.
Okay, so you've obviously dealt with a lot of dark spirits. How about the opposite? Have you ever had enlightened beings come through yourself or others? Maybe a guide, an angel?
Twice I've had, like, the source come through me.
Okay, so tell us about that.
The first time was a complete surprise. I had no idea this was going to happen. I was actually working with somebody else, a colleague, and it came through. And I'm looking at my hands. It's like, well, Don isn't quite sure what's going on here, but you need to hear this stuff. So he talked about love and how important that was, and that he said.
And this coming out of your voice.
This is coming through me, just like I'm channeling something. I've never channeled anybody before, and outside of this other second time, haven't since.
So what did that source channel through you?
Well, the main phrase is, love is all there is. Everything
Okay.
else is distractions. Love is all there is a neat sentence because it's a full sentence there, but if you drop off each word, it's still a complete sentence. So love is all there is. Love is all there. Love is all. Love is love. And it's been a foundation of my practice, a core element for years. Because love is all there is. Everything else is distractions, and the distractions are okay. He said this. This is the distractions. That's all right. There's no judgment on anything. Just remember that love is all there is. That's the energy, and in a theological standpoint, that makes sense in that way. But if you don't believe in all the theological stuff, if you think, well, that's all baloney, and there's just biology and physics and stuff, fine. That energy that we see as that love energy is that energy that drives the universe, drives all of creation. Love and fear are the only choices we have in anything we do. Any choice we make, it's either a love choice or a fear choice.
So what have you observed in working with clients with past lives regression?
Here's one that's real interesting. There's this woman, she had come to me a year after she broke her neck. She was riding a horse, broke her neck. She was a psychotherapist, and the horse stood over her until she got help. Somebody came and found her. She felt the need to wear a cross and a Jewish star. She wasn't sure why. Another part of her history was that at 10 years old, she needed to learn the 23rd Psalm. It was just, that's for some reason she really felt the need to memorize that. So she did. She didn't know why, but she just had that need to do it. So she's sitting in my chair, and we go off, and she is, I'll try to truncate this, take the highlights there. But she's standing in a street. She's got a long dress on. She can't see her feet. And then all of a sudden she says, I'm a nun. She just was amazed that she could be a nun. She had nothing to do with any kind of church stuff. Well, it came out that she was the only nun, the only person that was in a Catholic church in Germany during World War II. She had these Jewish families in the basement, and the rabbi. And what did they recite? The 23rd Psalm. And the rabbi knew that everything was going to be all right. Not that they weren't going to get killed, but everything was going to be all right. Everybody else had deserted her, even God. That's how she felt. They get picked up. They get it. They're on their way to the oven, or not the ovens, but the gas chambers. And there was even a Nazi soldier that got thrown in because he was kind of sympathizing with them, so they just threw him in too.
Wow.
Now they're all dead. The rabbi and the gangs, they're going up, and the nun, my client, had one hand up like this, one hand out to the Nazi, and asked, "Can he come too?" He said, "Well, of course. If he accepts the light, of course he can come home."
Mm-hmm.
So they all went into the light, and everything was fine. She felt so much better. When she was younger, before she went in to become a nun, I think she was in Ireland or somewhere in the British Isles, and she had the calling, and God said everything was going to be all right. And she's thinking, "No, nothing's all right. We're all dead. We're all going to be dead, all of this stuff." And everybody left, even you left, all this. I mean, she was really upset. But then she found out that going into the light is our path, and that's really all right, and there is no death. We go through these cycles, and it can get pretty wacky with how we die sometimes. There's some real tragic stories. But it's just a transition.
Okay.
And somehow there's a lesson in there on how we died, why we had to die that way. Sometimes it's either to teach about love or find out that maybe we needed to express love better. It's a karmic payback. There's any number of reasons. I mean, that's like 2 of the times that I had colleagues say, "Why don't we do you? Because you haven't done any past life for a while." And I went, "Yeah, sure, okay, see where we go with it." And both times were very profound. But this, I think it was the second time that we did this, I went back to my soul's creation. And it was just, again, amazing. Just really wonderful. I'm like this little person, almost like a Peanuts character, with the big head and the little body kind of thing. And it was a wall of white. And I could tell there was a curve to it, but it was like just immense, But it was like if you could stand in front of the sun. So there is a curve, but it's almost flat, but you can tell. And I was like I was saying goodbye to the source, I guess. And that was the point where I learned that helping lost souls go home was my life's purpose. And I have been to various lifetimes where that I was doing, like as a priest, Catholic priest, I was doing exorcisms, which is absolutely the wrong way to do it. That's a violent, fear-based
exactly.
ritual.
You found that was in another life, obviously.
And yeah.
So now you've perfected your skill.
And now I'm doing it the right way. I'm doing it with coming from a love base, the love of the Father. It's like yeah. An exorcism is like taking the nails out of the tire and throwing them up on the road again.
Right.
It does not. In fact, I did a fellow who was exorcised, and the first words out of his mouth were, "Don't hurt me, don't hurt me." And I said, "Well, we're not here to hurt you. We're only here to help you out." 2 meanings there, to help them out and to help them out. So, but he said there was these people all dressed in black. They just grabbed me and threw me away. Then after 2 weeks, I figured it was safe to come back.
Sorry.
The lost soul. And he wasn't a demon. He was just a lost soul. It was
he's
stuck
just a
in
lost
this guy.
soul. Okay.
Again, don't get me started.
You're
with
talking about the
Church
Catholic priest. They
how
threw him out,
all
and
this-
then
they threw him out, and then they said, "Okay, good, we did a good job. High five it." And then they
then he
walked
just
out.
finds another body.
And he went back to the same one because that's where he wanted to be.
Well, and they didn't really get rid of him. They just
Threw him
temporarily took him out of the body,
away. Right? They just threw him out.
and then he just came back in.
Yeah, and any one of them that
makes
they
sense.
throw out can do that. They're not. Everybody gets to go home. That's the thing that's so important to know, and that's the sense of peace that comes from all of that. Is that we all get to go home. So when we're ready to do that crossover, just remember to go to the light, and it's our choice. Again, we don't have to go. You kind of have to get out of. I don't leave anybody behind when I do my work, but they have to decide it. But I'm like a used car salesman.
You're pretty convincing, aren't you?
But I got the best product. I'm selling the light and the love.
It's not a hard product to sell.
No, there are times when I'll have a Lucifer wannabe say that well, this is the best way. This is this is where the real power is. And they try to say, "So okay, you sell me on it. Maybe I'll come over to your side." So they start talking it up, right? So I say, what happens if you screw up on something? Oh, that's not good. You know. Well, what happens? Oh, it's, you know, they say the pit, or, you know, just there's some awful stuff that happens. So, but anyway, he was trying to sell me on it. And then I said, okay, well, let me tell you some of the things. If you screw up on this side, nothing happens to you. And if you don't believe me, ask these angels that are around us, because we're always surrounded by all these angels. Maybe there's somebody you might recognize, because they all get recycled into good angels, and they're helping and stuff. So I said, ask anything you want. Any question you want, you ask them. And then you can tell that there's an interaction there. And I said, so what do they tell you? Well, nothing happens. It's like it's confusing to them, because they figure there's always consequences, you know. But when there's holy and unconditional love and stuff, it's all good. Only good can come of it. So it's really a blessing that I've been directed to do this kind of stuff. And when I went back in that lifetime to the original one, it's no question. It's like,
it made sense, right?
Yeah, of course I get nudged into this stuff. And
because you started out just wanting to help counsel people, and then boom, you were. And
now I'm
It seemed like pretty right away you were into the David Kaloff, he's a very well-known hypnotist, and he talked about this story once where this young girl was chain smoking, and she came to him because she was chain smoking. And again, the voice, he said, oh, like you can even hear it in the way he's writing the tale in the book. He's like, oh, this voice came out. And what had happened was, when her mother died, she was afraid, and she latched onto the daughter, and the mother was the chain smoker. So again, same idea, sent the mother to the light, and girls resumed as a non-smoker. But
organ transplants are the same thing. I mean,
yes, they are.
Can happen, you know, where you've got this.
Well, because all your memories contained in your cells. So a lot of times when they do, like, there was a case with a 5-year-old girl where she got an organ transplant. I think it was a heart. Dr. Paul Persall talks about it. And she actually dreamt about, and I think it was a 7-year-old's killer, and they were able to catch him as a result, because all the cellular memory was in there. So she was having dreams about the killer, so she was able to lead the police after the heart transplant to the.
How cool is that? That is.
It's very cool.
Really neat.
But they do all kinds of strange things, like, you know, healthy eaters will all of a sudden be like, no, I need McDonald's, and it turned out that the person they got the transplant from was, you know, loved McDonald's or was Spanish, and all of a sudden they have a desire to speak Spanish. It's kind of like our past life thing, you know. You had a desire to.
That's the thing, and that's why it's so. Everything is so interconnected. In the whole deal, and people are afraid of it because they see, you know, Hollywood ghosts, and
exorcisms.
Things like that.
The movie The Exorcist didn't help.
No, but what's interesting is that in The Exorcist, there is a hypnotherapist that comes in.
Oh, really?
And
I've been too scared since I was a child to watch that movie.
See, I suck up all this stuff. I read all this stuff, and I watch the films and stuff, and it's like, why don't they do it the right way? That was another. I'd like to relate to another movie too, but this.
So there was a hypnotist in The Exorcist.
In the film, and in the story, there is a hypnotist, but then he doesn't know what to do with it. See, he wasn't trained, and I think one of the things, and this is a professional thing, if we at least get trained to do the past life regression and the releasement stuff, then we've got those tools in our box. Even if we don't go that route at all, that's the major part of my practice. But if the person is doing some other kind of hypnosis, and then all of a sudden you've got this voice coming out that is not your client's, it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be afraid and you know, mess yourself up as well as your client? Or are you going to be able to say, well, we're going to do a releasement therapy now? It's like, and I think a good hypnotherapist can work like a Tai Chi master and go with wherever the client's going to go. And you go with them and kind of help guide them into where they need to be. And it's I mean, that just makes it better for everybody.
Sure.
So I think getting the education is important.
One should always be well trained no matter what they do in life.
Well, yeah, you know, that's
especially something like this.
Yeah. I think so, because you never know what it's not. To me, it's like not it's more like when you do come across your client is it's speaking in another voice or something. We saw a film, my wife and I. It's called The Entity. Barbara Hershey's in it. She has paranormal stuff happen to her, even in 3D, molested in bed and all kinds of stuff. And they deal with psychiatry. That doesn't work out very well. Then they deal with or parapsychologists, and they set up all this equipment. And then they think, okay, what we're going to do is set up this whole contraption and pour liquid hydrogen onto the entity.
Oh.
That's stupid.
It's Hollywood.
It was Hollywood, and this is based on a true story, which is fascinating. But they did this, and then at the end of the movie, it's like, okay, we've got it all done, but she moves out of town. At the end, in the credits, it says that she's moved out of town or something like that. And I just turned to my wife and I say, "So, is she still clear?" And then that's when the voice came out. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." I go, "Oh, really?" So I said, Michael, drop in a light, and then we helped the guy into the light, and all was fine. Do we know? I mean, have we contacted this person? Do we know who this person really is? No, we don't know. But we helped somebody over to the light.
Well done.
And it just, and that was the beauty of having my wife around, because we could just step into these things without any issue at all. It was pretty cool. But I was working with her, through her to somebody, and things were getting a little heavy. And then she started laughing, and I said, "What's so funny?" She said, "Michael just showed up in bunny slippers." And they
keeping
said,
it light.
"Really?" He said, "Yeah, you're making it too heavy." He said, "You got to bring it up." So this all this imagery stuff, and I haven't had the vision of all the stuff that
your wife used to see it.
My wife used to see that.
See
All my scanners see stuff. My clients see the stuff, and some of it is just so beautiful. It's just really amazing. I'm the guy that talks. I'm the salesman, and I've got the best product ever.
Yeah,
so,
you do.
I will march into hell with the heavenly cause.
So, if there is anything that you'd like to say to our audience about the power of their minds and what we can achieve, what would you want to leave them with?
Well, the thing I would leave them with would be that whatever we do and wherever we are in our development, that hypnosis in particular is a very succinct way to bring about a resolution to issues. And that's what we want to do. We don't want to just talk about it. That's the thing I like about hypnosis as opposed to a lot of other therapies, because I'm sure everybody has heard stories about people who have gone on and on and on with their therapists, and so, like Woody Allen, he's like 10 years or more with psychiatry and stuff. It's like, well, why? Let's just go and take care of it, which you can with hypnosis. You can go right to the initializing event, whether it's in this lifetime or in another lifetime, it doesn't matter. You can resolve that, and you can come up to the present and be at peace with it. That's what we need, is to bring peace to whatever we're doing. And remember that love is all there is. And that's when we bring love to whatever our issue is, then we can move forward. And the more we do that, the more our vibration rises, and the better your life is. And the therapist, the client, everybody, your neighbor down the block, everybody is good by that. So it's all about the love. You get love and fear, choose wisely.
Great. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. This has been a
pleasure.
pleasure. Yes, it's been great.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.